Everybody, welcome to the Sunday live stream. And we got a lot of things to go over. But first, of course, I have to welcome my friend Jerry B. Hall. Jerry, how's everything in Costa Rica, man?
Pura vida, mi amigo. Latin America had a stain removed yesterday, and I'm hoping we get a chance to discuss that later in the show.
Yeah, we're going to. And you've got some pretty unique perspectives because you were actually there in Central America and the things that were going on. So this is going to be, I didn't know what you knew, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So everybody, before we get into how everything's changed, and we see the markets actually having a nice little rebound, Bitcoin and altcoins, especially meme coins, which are worthless, but whatever. It's today is the 11th day of the 12 days of Christmas. And I was planning to release the new thing that I had as far as like a giveaway on the last day. But I wanted to give it away today because it all has to do with AI. And I needed Jerry here to talk about AI and electricity and everything else. So the 11th day is it is an app that I created within Gemini artificial intelligence. And Gemini is the Google version of ChatGPT and Grok. And I believe that Google will probably be the winner of the whole AI output. It's because they have rows and rows and massive amounts of data and computes and computers, and they have the cloud storage spaces, it's not they have nothing but storage spaces moving throughout, and they have the ability. So I created this app, which is 100% free. I think it's going to help some of you. I think it's going to be pretty good. You don't have to do anything. This is how it works. There's a link in the description, and it's going to take you to Gemini. What is the link itself? Gemini.google.com app, blah, 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 blah. And all you got to do is it's going to ask you for your email. And just so you know, like, it's going to ask you for some basic information, but it is free. And this is something that you want. It's definitely for you. And I don't need this. Let's see. Boosting shelter dog adoptions. Now you can see all the things that I look at. That's okay. But when you click on it for this app, it's the daily crypto briefing. And you can go to all the different news outlets. You can go through X. You can aggregate all the information. You can check to see if it's accurate. You can go through all the different YouTubers and everything else. Great, fine. What's what you're doing right now. But how would you like just a down and dirty, like quick 30-second type of information about what the heck's going on in the market, why it's moved up, why it's moved down, what's happening? When you sign up, you don't sign up. It's free. When you get this, all you do is just type report. And it's going to take a while because it has to think and has to go through the things. And I got to tell you, Gemini so far, as far as like for AI, is my favorite to do as far as like thumbnail creations, as far as like data, as far as like helping me plan different things. I think AI is not going to take your job. Actually, I can't say that for 100% assurance. AI is going to take some jobs, but the people that use AI are going to beat the people that don't use AI. And I think it's a pretty big thing. So this takes a little bit of time, but once it rolls out the report, you're going to see how it can kind of calm some nerves, cut through the BS, and actually get to the mainstay. So processing Python scripts, and it's kind of an involved process. Jerry, you took a look at this as this is generating. What did you think of it?
Well, I've been using it every day since you sent it to me. So
nice.
what I've done is I've added it to my kind of lexicon of AI tools, right? I use ChatGPT free version. I have a paid subscription with Perplexity that I love. It's Perplexity Pro. I use Grok. And so one of the things that I found really interesting about what you put together is that I can simply just press the crypto briefing and it gives me kind of a current today's look at a scope of things. And I really appreciate the ability to then ask it a question to expand upon one section or another, right? This is so much beyond Google, what Google allowed us to do with search. This is taking that search and putting it, on steroids. I really appreciate what you did. I don't know how much time and effort you spent doing it, But whatever you did, thank you, because it's a neat little tool, and I hope everybody enjoys it and gets to use it and finds value from it.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you use it. But I mean, you guys can see right here what it's pretty much just like aggregating all the different data points and just giving to you like one little quick snippet, right? And it talks about the short squeeze is available. You got prices, dominance, fear and greed. You got the weekly moving averages, which I must admit right now, they are not correct. And that is something that I've been working with the developer to get correct. So moving average is a little bit off, just so you know. But you can take a look at like traditional markets, ETF flows, liquid derivatives, and then the hated rally, and then all the talking points that you're going to hear from people. And then like Jerry said, like, Jerry, okay, let me ask you this. What did the Venezuelan, I know I spelled it wrong, fiasco yesterday do to the market? How did it affect what is happening? And you can do anything. You can just ask like, hey, why does Zcash pop up so much? And what's going on with as far as like the Bitcoin resistance levels, and go from there. And this is why I created it. It's because I need people to, when I say do your own research, people are like, where the hell do I go? I mean, because I got all these people to do it. And now I'm like, well, just go here. Just go here and try this out. And again, it won't give you everything, but it'll kind of calm some of the nerves, kind of get you in that right state of mind. And like Jerry said, you can kind of just go here, get the information, and you can use it every day if you can. The only problem is I got it set for like to do deep think sometimes, so it's going to take a little bit of time to go this. Anyhow, that's what we have. Oh, let's see what it says. The Venezuelan fiasco is the U.S. military operation. Knee-jerk reaction, initial shock. I had this yesterday. Initial shock when the news broke, algorithms instantly de-risked. We saw a sharp high volume wick down as uncertainty spiked. And then it did. The recovery happened. Signals. This is the primary driver behind the fear and greed index. The fear is keeping retail sidelined. Bitcoin versus oil. Bitcoin acts as a non-sovereign hedge. Bottom line, the event failed to break a Bitcoin structure. Instead of crashing the market, Venezuelan news acted as a liquidity. That's a good one. I never thought of that. Acted as a liquidity stress test that Bitcoin passed. It cleared out weak hands. I like how Gemini uses that. Weak hands, nervous lungs, and reset open interest, clearing the path to the move to 91K we're seeing today. Anyhow, thoughts, Jerry, before we go on?
Again, I like it. The more I can use a tool that helps validate the truth, right? And to put the disclaimer on things that aren't necessarily real helps me make decisions, right? All of this is just how I try to process the world around me, right? And we're seeing, I'm seeing that played out. For instance, we'll get into this topic about Venezuela in a little bit, but what Venezuela now is basically signaling the markets, regardless of the legality or morality or any of those other issues, what it's signaling the markets is that there is a new gold rush to be had, right? That gold rush is the infrastructure, the rebuilding and infrastructure of the largest pool of heavy crude on the planet Earth. You know what I mean? We all, whether we like to admit it or not, if you don't understand the truth is we will be oil dependent well beyond the end of all of our lifetimes. There's nobody listening and watching this stream live right now that will not live in a world that's dependent on oil for a myriad of industries.
Exactly.
So that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. Hey, Jerry, I got an idea. This is not going to go over well for everybody. But Phuket says, ask me a political question I won't like. Sure, let's do this. This ought to be fun. So I'm going to ask it, was Trump legally correct to capture Maduro? That's a good one. I'm sure everybody will 100% agree here. Let's see. Let's see what it says. See, even I get a little excited about these things. Oh, this ought to be good. Confirming event content. Ah, Happy New Year's. Meme says, ask it, who are the likely Democrat and Republican president? Listen, there's only so much we can do here, Meme, before we get totally taken off of YouTube. And
so
then,
this deep think mode looks like?
Yeah, deep think.
Okay.
Sometimes. Okay, here's where we go. So the short answer is mixed. It depends entirely on what court you ask, U.S. federal or the United Nations. Under U.S. law, yes, the Kerr-Frisbee doctrine. The precedent in the U.S. legal system, how a defendant is brought to court does not invalidate the trial. It's known as the Kerr-Frisbee doctrine. The indictment, Maduro was indicted in 2020 for narco-terrorism and leading the cartel of the Suns. Loophole, since the U.S. doesn't recognize him as president, they argue he has no sovereign immunity. And I'm pretty sure he stole the election. Am I wrong there? I don't know. Anyhow, this isn't a geopolitical channel. I'm just asking Gemini why the market doesn't care. Under international law, no breach of sovereignty, the violation prohibits using force against a territorial integrity of another state. The fallout in the UN and EU are calling this a clear violation of Venezuelan sovereignty. So again, I don't understand because like he's not the president. He was stolen, but whatever. Bottom line, Trump has the U.S. courts on his side, the international community against him. For your portfolio, ignore the legal debate and watch the, oh, this is great. Watch the oil volatility index moving forward. That's what you want to know. So I'm glad I could answer that question for everybody as everybody debates in the comments section. So that's the app. I'd like to give that to everybody. And then tomorrow we'll do another giveaway. But let's jump into the more important things like where can we find Jerry? Well, Jerry can be found on X. There's a link in the description. Give him a follow. He's always got good information coming in. But Jerry, let's talk about what this means for the markets themselves. And this is from Ted. If you don't follow Ted, I think I linked him in the description. He's a crypto investor. He survived, like I said, survived 2 cycles. Here, turning on chain of macroeconomics, Mexi partner, trading club. And he said he had a pretty good point. This is insane. Venezuela holds 303 billion barrels of oil at $57 a barrel. That's 17.3 trillion in reserves. Even at half price, it's 8 trillion. In hours, the U.S. claimed control over oil. That's 4x Japan GDP. Most don't realize how big this is. Oil markets open Sunday. Wix says they took temporary control. It's not taking ownership. Blah 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 blah. So on down that road. And I don't want to debate that part, but there was this information about if they're going to take oil, we know that there's an AI race too, right? We know that how important oil and electricity and production actually is. This is from ChatGPT and OpenAI, how much electricity they need for what they're actually doing right now. In 2025, they use 2 gigawatts. That's correct, but that's what they're saying as far as here. Annual growth is 1.8x. So by 2033, they need 125x. So by this coming in, oil, production, electricity, debt, selling it off, and everything else. I don't want to get into the legalities of what this is because me and Jerry are not lawyers, we're not geopoliticals, but what does this mean for AI, Jerry, and the markets at large? What do you think?
So the source of energy is vast, right? Solar, wind, hydroelectric, fossil fuel, coal. The requirements and demand on our grids is rising exponentially with the demand required by Internet of Things, AI, etc. Right? Each new robot will be a computer processing data, so it will need batteries, right? It will need, or maybe robots. There'll be robots without batteries. They're just hardwired, right? They're not completely autonomous. Maybe they have a range that they work within that a cable follows them around or what have you. Electricity is that source of energy that is so important. And so when we're looking at the markets, companies that will be able to provide electricity in greater amounts with a lower kilowatt per hour cost are going to be the companies you want to put your money into, right? If you're going to invest in that emerging sector, and believe me, there are many, right? Small nuclear has some real promise. Hydrogen has some real promise. Look at what Toyota's doing with hydrogen for cars, and just scale that to neighborhoods, and think about that and those possibilities for a minute. So there's some really, really interesting plays for energy as it pertains to our portfolios and how we construct them looking forward. Maybe some of us are managing portfolios for our non-adult children, which I have. I have this beautiful 14-year-old daughter, and I manage her portfolio, right? She has a Roth IRA that I can trade within, right?
Yeah.
Trade within easily without affecting any of the structure of what the IRA is structured to protect against, right? Very similar to the way you can do all the crypto trading within your iTRUST Capital IRA account without any of the weirdness of worrying about gains or any of those kind of things.
Yeah, it's a Roth IRA as well. So, you know, tax exempt. I mean, you're paying taxes on the revenue that you generate, or your however you generate income. But, you know, within the IRA.
Sense, to summarize the answer, I think energy is a sector that requires a lot more investigation now than it did 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's interesting what you said about the small nuclear reactors and what's happening there. If we can generate that much, that'd be... What?
I'm sorry, I was stepped on you. I apologize. I was just going to say, I'm not a big fan of Bill Gates, but he's poured a lot of money into that research, and there's been some very promising small companies come up out of that Gates Foundation seed money that are doing small-scale nuclear.
Well, there's one good thing he did. Yeah, there's one good thing he did. I'm not going to eat the bugs that he wants me to eat, but whatever. Anyhow, Bill Gates, have at it. Microsoft was a good thing. The rest of the stuff is crazy. Anyhow, so that's a good point. And then to bring this home, the things that have changed, because we have so much. First of all, I don't know what's going to happen with the oil. I don't know if they're going. Actually, I didn't want to get into it because it's a hotbed of a topic. I will say this: as far as like for inflation, I mean, energy and production costs are a pretty huge amount of CPI data. And from Trueflation, they just put this out and says the price of oil is a big driver behind the prices of not just utilities, but goods, services, manufacturing, and transportation. If the U.S. is indeed going to be very strongly involved in Venezuela's oil industry, it will definitely have an impact on U.S. inflation and the GDP. And we can see that as of, well, yesterday, you were looking at U.S. CPI inflation now of 1.81%. And they've revised that to 1.9, but below the 2%. Unfortunately, Jerome Powell doesn't care about Trueflation. He doesn't use that. He uses the old data points, but it is interesting. And I think they're right as far as Trueflation saying that, hey, inflation will definitely go down if we are able to use that type of oil. But again, I don't know what they're doing with it. I don't know if it's going to be, I don't know. Jerry, what's your thoughts?
Okay, so as it pertains to the Venezuelan oil, and what that means for markets in the U.S., I think you'll see something like this. This is I'm speculating, of course. But if we get a pro-capitalist, pro-U.S. administration in Venezuela governing that country, what you'll see is contracts awarded to oil companies. And they're not all created equal, right? So let's say one of the standard oil spinoffs, Exxon or somebody like that, it's a major contract down there based on the fact that they were there pre-socialist governments, right? When we actually had U.S. oil companies in Venezuela, let's say they're awarded contracts. The great thing for America as a whole is that if you are an American company or a United States citizen and you earn money outside of the United States, above a certain amount, you have to pay taxes to the U.S.
That's right.
Right? So tax revenue, boom. Now, when you're looking at let's say we have a U.S.-friendly administration in Venezuela, you've got BP oil based out of the U.K., and you've got Exxon based out of the United States, and you're a U.S.-friendly administration. Awarding that contract to Exxon creates revenue for the United States. If you gave it to BP oil, you'd be giving it to the UK. Which one do you think the US would favor?
Yeah,
right?
that's a good point.
when you start seeing these, you start looking at the incentives, it's pretty easy to see what the outcomes are going to be, plus or minus, X variance.
Right. And what I think this comes down to some of the last pieces, which is, the markets themselves. We saw a little bit of a push, especially with the unknowns. And it's good to see that Bitcoin going up instead of just laying flat, or unfortunately going down, and actually increasing. So this to me feels like almost, if people were worried, this would be a risk off asset. If they think, well, inflation's going down, now it's a risk on. Regardless, you're seeing some price appreciation, which is good, and we'll let the markets figure out what it is. But the thing that I think about is this: everybody has their idea of what's going to happen in a linear trajectory. But if you take a look at, say, like Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, they have been dumping their stocks, and it says here they've now dumped stocks for 12 consecutive quarters, just dumping from late 2022 until presently. And you can just see that they are just sitting on a mountain of cash because they were dumping stocks. I wonder how much this changes the whole paradigm as we go in there, and what's going to happen with oil production, creation, and being able to reduce the amount of inflation, and then what you just talked about right there. So I look at this and I think to myself, this could be a pretty big thing for markets pushing it forward. But again, it all comes down to execution. And then lastly, this just came out. I just got this sent to me. Breaking: Venezuela's former chief of national intelligence, Hugo Carvajal, has officially released every U.S. senator who is on the Venezuela list of politicians who have been receiving millions of dollars in kickbacks from the Maduro regime and Venezuelan drug trafficking. I know the names in here. I'm not going to show them, because I cannot verify this. You guys can take a look, but it is a lot of senators on there. And if this is true, which I can't verify yet, I think it'd be irresponsible for me to show it, this would be the biggest blow to the sitting senators and what they have been saying and versus what they have been doing. And that's it for that piece, and I'll leave it like that. Jerry, your thoughts on the markets and this crazy story that just came out?
I am absolutely elated that between citizen journalism, right, between what Elon started with Doge, this whole let's actually get to the truth of the flow of the trails of money.
Yes.
Right? Let's bring some transparency and truth to these trails of money, and let the truth dictate where we go forward from that. So I'm not going to condemn anybody on that list until verification happens. But boy, I'm telling you, when I think about the technology tree, the innovation stack that's been brought to us, the ability to use blockchain for transparent money flows between the issuer, let's say the World Bank, and the receiver, the building contractor in Haiti who's supposed to build the highways with that money.
Yeah.
What an opportunity to take the technologies that have been brought to bear over the last 10 years and apply them to these critical systems that we all really deserve. We deserve transparency in our flow of tax dollars.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And I don't think that's just to the US. I think every democratic nation on the planet could be starting to adopt some of these things. I'm just really excited that the future looks brighter for us than the past as it pertains to transparency with the respect to money.
With respect to money. And I got to agree. And I hope it works out like that moving forward, because it's not like we can keep giving the government our hard-earned tax dollars and then wasting it. It's like a crackhead going, you know what's going to help me? More crack. It never works. Anyhow, that's it for today. So Jerry, that was a good one. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for talking. We appreciate it. Everybody, remember, link in the description, use the daily report. It's going to help kind of ease your fears, and you can you can ask Gemini any question you want to, and it's free. Just know that you're going to have to, it's going to ask you for like your email, and it depends on if you, like I use it on my desktop. but you can use it on your mobile device. But just know that you probably have to download the app, so keep it there. But that's it for today. Like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. Now we'll get into Q&A, and you can ask Jerry any question you possibly want to, and I will ask him, and he'll give you a pretty good one. And let's see, Echo Lee's got a good one. Can we do a Doge 2.0? More about transparency. Then we're coming up here, Jeff. There was a term me and Jerry were talking about, decentralized Doge, because I think even Elon Musk agrees that the Department of Government Efficiency, it didn't really work out that well for him, and it was kind of a failure. But if we have these citizen journalists, which some are going to be crazy, some are going to actually do good work, and some mostly be in like the middle. But if we can just get these people to like go out there and root out corruption and fraud, imagine how much money we could actually save as taxpayers. And it's not just here in America, it's throughout the entire world. So I like that idea. Jerry, what's your thoughts?
I think between technologies like blockchain and AI, what used to be prohibiting barriers to keep from doing extensive audits, et cetera, can now be done far cheaper and far faster and as accurate or more accurate using tools like AI. And then conversions of these old antiquated legacy systems to blockchain type systems, whether they're gated, obfuscated, private, what have you, the auditability in the future will be even far greater, far easier, far less expensive, therefore easier to do more often, right? And it's those checks and balances that I believe that we all deserve. They're in our Bill of Rights, but the truth of the matter is most Americans grew up in this, well, I'll speak for myself. Growing up in the time and place that I grew up, it was an arduous journey to audit anything or anybody. I don't think it's that way anymore. I think it's getting easier and easier and easier. And taxpayers should demand that their tax dollars be allocated judiciously.
Right.
They should be able to easily understand the accounting of those tax dollars, where they go, and have some say in that, right? And what we've done is we have given away a lot of those powers and a lot of those demands because it's just too hard. Well, I think it's getting easier and easier and easier now with the technology at our fingertips.
Yeah, that's true. And I think AI is going to do one of two things. It's either going to destroy us or bring us into the next millennia. It's going to be actually very positive, but it all comes down to execution as usual. So we'll see what happens. So let's see. Bob Hawks had a good question. This is right up Jerry's alley. Are there any energy-related crypto projects? What do they do, and how does that work?
So some of the ones that I'm personally working with are all centered around carbon credits, right? Taking either hydroelectric energy and accounting for it on a blockchain with carbon credit accumulation, or solar, right? Mm-hmm. How that affects a grid, right? And those type of things. I'm not yet aware of somebody that's doing a pure power play. In other words, I have a coal mine that I'm tokenizing, and I'm going to buy carbon credits to offset, or any, I'm not clear of any energy companies that have actually gone that route yet. I think the first avenues you're going to see for any of that type of stuff, Bob, are going to be on the debt side of those businesses. Do they issue token bonds to help fund their expansion or their conversions or their upgrades or what have you? I think you'll see that in the debt side of the energy business will be crypto projects, where you'll be able to buy tokens that represent debt that you'll get paid back once those companies implement whatever the thing they're going to implement with the money you invested, and you'll get dividends or you get your bond yield repayment, what have you.
Yeah. You know what? I hear these terms about real world assets, tokenization of real world assets. It's coming. And it's like, it just seems like it's farther and farther away. But as a reminder, I mean, JP Morgan is rolling out that money market account based on Ethereum blockchain. So I think there's something to be done. And then in I think a week or two, I'll be here for the Puerto Rico tokenization event. I'd like to see what they're going to do there. It should be good. Should be a good one. I want to see the progress moving forward. So yeah, good one, Jerry. How about this one? Ideas and the best businesses to start in Florida. I would be a real estate agent, especially as everybody from New York and California floods into Florida. That'd probably be a good thing for me to do. Jerry, what do you think?
I think Texas and Florida have done the best job between their statewide taxation schedule and their ability to attract, whether it be people from the other 48 states, right? So if I was in Florida, it would be real estate related. I would try to do something around solar, because Florida is an incredibly vibrant solar state.
I would do that. I'd take it one step further. If you do the solar power, I will do the solar power cleaning. So like all the different panels that are there, everybody's got solar panels. There's a guy here that charges like $250 to do that, and it takes him like 30 minutes. I'm like, damn, I could have done that myself. So I'm just thinking to myself, that would be a pretty good business. Also, if you're in Florida, retirement communities, I would say like something like not like a big grandiose, but retirement homes. Sure, something like that. Get the best of both worlds. You get boomers, then of course you get the real estate. Oh, and also, I didn't know this, but there is government funding for those types of services, which I did not know until I heard about the thing that was going on in Minnesota and the daycare system. Crazy. All right. Ivan says, hey guys, when are we going to hear Wes's giveaway? So when Wes was on from Smart Money Tracking, was this last week, Jerry? You were there? Yeah. And Wes gave away 3 lifetime memberships. Let's see. Okay. So I sent this to him, and even Jay Davis, I'm looking at me and Wes's conversations here. And Vlad, I got you. VKI Yanitza at, I can't say the whole thing, but yeah, you're in there. And I said, hey man, I go, did you already do this? Thanks, was good having us on. He goes, I've got friends out at the moment, leaving tomorrow, so back to work. Sorry about the time delay. So look for Wes. If he doesn't move, go to his channel and hound him over there. And if he still doesn't do it, then let me know and I'll hound him myself. So yeah, I think he's just busy with people, but he should give you access. That's the whole deal. And I'll be responsible for that if he doesn't. All right, let's see. Christopher says, Elon is corrupt, Rob sounding stupid. Well, that's nice. I love it. This is the greatest part of the show. We get to get trolls as they come out. I do it for the trolls. Let's see. I quit my job. Hey, Lone Wolf says, I quit my job and went full-time crypto back in 2020. It feels the same now as it did then. Jerry, what's your overall consensus of where we're at in the cycle? Do you think this is going to be a good year? Or are you like me, like, I think it's going to be a bad year?
Well, this is my honest opinion. I have very little actual fact to substantiate this, so it's really an emotionally thing. I think we are at the stage where we are going to see 80% of the total crypto market go to dust, grind down to dust, and the cream of the crypto projects will rise. And I'm basing this solely on my observation, not my participation, my observation of the .com boom when thousands of .com companies emerged, right? And all had promise. Every one of the white papers of those companies was promising. And we saw the market go from this and collapse down to Microsoft, Google, Meta. You know what I mean? We saw that .com industry compressed to the top most valuable, most prescient companies, and all those other Snapple.coms and all those pet.coms and all that shit went away. I think crypto is going to have that .com moment, and I believe that we're starting to see it in 2025, and it will be further exacerbated in 2026. But it could be, truth is, probably won't happen until 2027, where the real cream rises. But I think we're in that process of separating quality and validity from maybe not so much, maybe not a market fit, maybe not this, maybe not that.
Yeah. Another question came in. Okay, Jerry, what are you investing in as far as alts? And
I'm
you
not
know,
investing in alts. That's the point, right?
Ah.
I'm not. There are certain alts that I'm not selling, right? I have a small basket of layer 1 smart contract proof of stake protocols that I'm not selling. I'm just compounding the tokens within the staking protocols.
Yeah.
I'm only in the crypto world putting actual US dollars into Bitcoin currently. Like I'm no longer putting money into the AI projects in crypto that I have. I'm no longer expanding alts, right? Matter of fact, there are a lot of them I'm unbonding and unstaking and getting capital ready to sell if we do get a mini altcoin
Boom.
push, right? But I'm preparing for that collapse of the market. I am only going to have my money in crypto in the top 15 projects. Nothing
wrong with that. That sounds good. Well, everybody knows my position for the alts. I still say it's the best. Those are the ones that'll win. The BEST, Binance, Ethereum, Solana, Tron. One of those will make it out. We'll see how it is. And the real pig says my alts are flying. And then lastly, let's get out of here. Meme says, any Cardano news? Any midnight? First of all, Big Pay was supposed to be with us on the dog shelter dog walk this morning, but he couldn't make it. So I'm going to meet up with him later. We're going to talk about midnight. But Jerry, any thoughts on that Cardano midnight?
I'm telling you, so one of my business, one of my startups is we're seriously looking into Cardano for digital ID technology, right?
Sure.
And I think we're going to see, as these worlds converge, the crypto and TradFi come more into a kind of harmonious industry of their own.
Yeah.
We're going to see more and more need for solid, rational digital identity. And Midnight promises a lot of new technologies in that world that I'm hoping come to fruition.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I gotta talk to you, and I gotta talk to Payne about that. But that's it for today, everybody. So I want to keep this a little bit light and short. Did okay, but that's it for this one. So again, follow Jerry on X. Check out the free app. Links in the description on Gemini. And that's it for this one. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. See you on the next one. Adios.